Hi, my name is Trista Burleson, and this is my speech over Anne Bradstreet. So, Anne Bradstreet was a prominent figure in the early American literature and is often regarded as one of the first American poets. She was born in England in 1612, and later on she immigrated to the Massachusetts Bay Colony with her family in 1630. Bradstreet's work is significantly not only for its literal merit, but also its reflection for the experiences of women in a patriarchal society. Her poetry often explored themes of love and family and religion and the struggles of life in the New World. One of her most famous works, called The 10th Muse Lately Sprung Up in America, it was published in 1650, and it's notable for its expression of personal and domestic life, as well as her reflections of her role as a woman and a writer. Bradstreet's writing challenges the expectations of women in her time as she navigates her identity as both a mother and a poet. Her verse demonstrates a deep intellectual and emotional challenges that she had faced as a woman author in a male-dominated society. And her legacy was endured, and she is celebrated as a trailblazer for women's writers in America. Anne Bradstreet's life and work, it provided a fascinating glimpse into the early colonial period in America, as well as roles for women during that time itself. She was born Anne Dudley in Northampton, England, to a well-to-do family. Her father was a Puritan, which influenced her religious and literal perspectives. In 1628, she married Simon Bradstreet, who later became a prominent colonial official. The couple had immigrated to America in 1630, where they settled in what is now Massachusetts, of course, that I had covered in the first part. And throughout her life, Bradstreet had faced the challenges of colonial life, including the harsh realities of the New England wilderness, the responsibilities of raising 8 children, which that is a lot, and the societal expectations placed on women itself. But despite the challenges, she maintained her passion for writing and produced a substantial body of work. Bradstreet's poetry is characterized by its nature and its exploration of complex themes. She often wrote about her feelings regarding marriage and motherhood and the loss of loved ones, as she is seen in her poignant elegies. Her poem, called In Memoriam, is a moving tribute to her deceased grandchild, and it showcased her ability to express deep sorrow and personal grief for her family and, just anybody that she was writing about. And then in addition to the personal themes, Bradstreet's work also reflected her engagement with the broader intellectual currents of time, including Puritan theology, which her father was a Puritan himself, and the Burgundy American identity. She often employed traditional poetic forms and meter, and she infused her work with a distinctly personal voice that set her apart from contemporaries. That way, she's different. And Bradstreet's literary contributions were groundbreaking for her time as she navigated the constraints of being a female writer in a patriarchal society. Her poetry was initially published without her knowledge and her consent, and she grappled with the tension between her desire for literary recognition and her societal role as a wife and a mother. She expressed the conflict in her writing, often questioning the legitimacy of her work and her right to be heard, which was big for that time for women. But over time, Bradstreet's poetry, it had gained recognition, and she has since been celebrated as a foundational figure in American literature, which is big for women. And her works had often been studied for their literary merit and their exploration of women experiences in a male-dominated society. And then today, Bradstreet is remembered not only for her poetry, but also for her role as a pioneer for women writers inspiring future generations to voice their thoughts and experiences through literature. Thank you so much.